state of Alabama is going backwards. We all know that. We know what the diagnosis is. We've got a supermajority of right-wing fringe elements governed by an executive branch that's weak, irresponsible, and has become dangerous to the people of Alabama. We know how to fix that. Our founding fathers made it absolutely clear that the ballot box was where the rubber meets the road, and that's where we're going to meet it on November the 4th. Let's remember some sacrifices that have been made, and let's remember that we've been talking about history. 50-year-ago history. Medgar Evers, 1963. John Kennedy, 1963. Fast forward to 1968. Martin Luther King. 6 weeks later, Robert Kennedy. Major sacrifices have been made, and the examples that have been set through the Judeo-Christian ethic have been legendary. Many of you in this room are ministers. Many of you in this room are devout churchgoers, and you all know Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the 39-year-old German who dared to take on the Nazi government, was hanged at 39. And he said, silence in the face of evil is itself evil. We have not heard one executive in the Republican Party stand up for the racist comments that have been made in this state, presented to the rest of the nation, and they're now painting us as going backward. We will not be able to do economic development. We've got too many CEOs outside of this state that are looking at Alabama like they looked at Alabama in the 1950s. We cannot tolerate that. The big absence in this room for us is there are no children here. We can talk about politics, and nobody loves it better than I do. And I like fights in politics, and I've been there. I told somebody in the back, I said, I've got the brain of an alligator, but I've got the skin as well. I'm ready to go to war for what I know is absolutely essential, and that's the children and the future of Alabama. We have 785,000 children in this state, and 52% are in poverty. I come from the wealthiest county, one of the wealthiest counties in the state of Alabama, Madison County. I have 23,500 school students in my city schools. 52% are in poverty. 52% of the children that go to school in this state are in poverty. Our 8th graders are last in math. We're going to fix that. We've got a saying in medicine, don't make a diagnosis you can't treat. Don't just whine, cry, and moan, because we all know how to do that. And we do it with each other over and over again. But let's come forward with some positive action. The first thing we're going to do is it's going to be jobs, jobs, jobs. We're the only state in the nation with a rising unemployment rate. We're going to do a lottery for education. We're surrounded by Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, and Mississippi. We can no longer afford to have our people go across the border, spend their money, educate Tennessee's children, Georgia's children, Florida's children, and Mississippi's children, and not our own, and we're falling further behind with our children. Our precious children, our children that we look across that kitchen table into the eyes of our children and our grandchildren and say, is their future better? Is it going to be better than I have? We're not sure in Alabama anymore. Lottery for education, and the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to expand Medicaid. It is unconscionable. This governor is weak. He knows better. His own university has told him to expand Medicaid. David Bronner, who runs the RSA, has told him to expand Medicaid. The Kaiser Healthcare Foundation, one of the most respected foundations of the nation, has said it's irresponsible, Governor, for you not to expand Medicaid. Colorado Hospital Association, our hospital association, the Missouri Hospital Association. 300,000 to 500,000 Alabamians are walking around subject to bankruptcy, subject to delayed diagnosis. Do you realize that we have 700 women that will die this year in Alabama of breast cancer? 700 men that will die this year of prostate cancer. 900 men and women will die of colon and rectal cancer this year in Alabama. And what those cancers have in common is that when they're found early, they're a 95% cure. Amen. And we're denying early diagnosis not only of cancer, but diabetes, hypertension. And we have preached for years the golden hour, the 60 minutes. That if you feel a little chest pain, you got a little shortness of breath, you need to get to that hospital and have that magic medicine given. If you feel a little tingling in your hand, a little headache, you know you're hypertensive, you might be having a stroke, you need to get to that hospital. And this governor is allowing hospitals to close in this state and deny treatment to people who will have to delay that golden hour. That heart muscle dies, no brain tissue dies. And he says, well, it's too expensive. We can't afford it. Let me tell you something about that. Let me tell you how far off he is. If I see a lady with an early breast cancer, I can cure it 95% of the time for $25,000. If I see that same lady at stage 3 or 4, I can spend $500,000 and she loses her life. Now you tell me, is this governor that we have, he's out of ideas, he's out of touch, and he needs to be out of office. Yeah. He's dangerous. This is not about it. This is not about Republican and Democrat. This is about the health care and the well-being of Alabamians, and this gentleman in the office of governor today has put politics in front of the health of his own people. How can we allow that? Now, okay, don't make a diagnosis you can't treat. Y'all in the treatment. We can't do it by ourselves. We've got the registered voters out there. We've got the people on the ground out there. And in this room, we've got the magic that can occur in every district to turn these voters out and say, there's been too much sacrifice in Alabama to allow us to vote. We know the story of self. We know the voting rights story. We know it all. And we're looking back 50 years and we're recounting this incredible history of people who've given their lives. Virtually, they've given their lives. They've had their heads cracked open. They've laid on the pavement and bled.
All right.
And so 50 years from now, when they look back on us, what are they going to say? That we sat home and we let some right-wing nuts take over Alabama? Deny health care? Deny education? Deny jobs? I don't want that history to be written. I want you to know that you, in your county, and in your churches, in your Sunday school classes, that we've got to believe what we hear every Sunday morning. We've got to believe that if it's right, it's worth sacrificing for. Right. We've got to believe that those people that we no longer know sacrificed so we could be here today. Let's don't let someone take money from multi-billionaires out of state, funnel their money through the Republican Party and buy our legislature and deny health care, education, and a quality of life to our citizens. It's going to be up to us. And I'm going to be right there. I'm going to be right there. You see the color of my hair. I'm headed, rounded third, headed home. I'm not fearful.
All right.
We're going to tell it. Everywhere we go, we're going to tell it. Because our message is going to resonate with Republicans, with Democrats, because we're Americans first. We're Americans first. And these issues transcend party. They transcend party.